Hey, Joe. What's going on?
Not too much. How you doing, Ben?
Doing very well. Doing very well. Appreciate you coming back on the podcast. We've had a good cadence going on every other month or so, having you on from TLC.
Always appreciate it.
Appreciate the freight insight as always.
Absolutely. It's been fun.
Yeah, of course, of course. If you haven't caught some of the past episodes, we have Joe Hassenfratz here. He's the sales manager from the Logistix Company. Why don't you give a little background and overview on yourself and TLC in case anybody hasn't caught a prior episode?
Absolutely. A pleasure as always. Thank you again for having us. Joe Hasenfratz with the Logistix Company, sales and marketing manager. At TLC, we're a freight forwarder, so deal heavily with liquid dry bulk, LTL. We have intermodal capacities as well. Very diverse freight forwarder. So if there's anything out there, hazardous, non-hazardous, if it's moving, we're looking to help assist in that type of lane.
One of the biggest Bills fans I know, next to my future mother-in-law. You guys are kind of on par, I think.
Hey, listen, we finally have a pretty decent season rolling here, and got the Patriots unfortunately still nipping at our heels. Thought
Very
we might
much
have
so.
a little bit of a break with Brady exiting the division, but re-upped with Mac Jones, it looks like.
But yeah, the freight's been an interesting conversation. I think no matter what your business is, no matter whether you're buying, selling, importing, exporting, you're dealing with freight issues. I don't envy people on the day-to-day freight management side of things. It's been an interesting, couple months and really kind of year.
Yeah.
We were just talking. I think our next episode beyond this will be a little 2021 recap / 2022 outlook. So that'll be interesting to really look big picture at what the last year held and what's in store. But in the short term, it's the middle of November, so we are coming to the end of the year here. It's been, I guess, 2 months since we've had the episode.
Yep.
But starting things off, I know the ports have been a big question mark. Imports, exports, delays getting things out of the port. What's going on that front? How are you guys seeing the status of ports and importing and exporting?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, we've had quite a crazy year. No reason to stop now. Heading into the holiday season, unfortunately, if you have anything that has yet to hit the water, I don't know how quickly you were expecting it, but I would temper all of the expectations that you're going to get it before end of year, just because it's pretty crazy out there right now. Ports continue to have major issues, so much so that the government's getting involved to try and alleviate some of that congestion. Read some articles this morning that Port Savannah is currently utilizing pop-up locations to start taking some of these empty containers that are waiting to get back outbound, and it's wild. It really is. Port LA is crazier than ever. You hear about the record number of vessels that are docked, just waiting to get in, or anchored, waiting to get into the actual port. So you'd like to think that there's going to be some light at the end of the tunnel here, but quite frankly, the holiday rush and all that comes with it, I think is going to just compound some of the congestion we've been experiencing.
Yeah, I think based on everything that's reading or hearing about, and ports and stuff doing things like that, putting actual physical assets into place to try to alleviate some of this stuff. I think as much as we would have liked to know that after the Christmas holiday, some of that would ease up, but I think from everything we're seeing, it's really going to be well into the second half of next year before anything potentially eases up.
Yeah, and I mean that's optimistic to be sure. The entire compounding of what's happened throughout all of 2021 just is showing so many of the chinks in the logistics armor, unfortunately, and the supply chain. Anybody in the supply chain field whatsoever is probably losing or getting as gray of hair as currently happening over in our office for sure. Yeah,
I mean, a massive increase in demand, people shopping from home for paper towels and things that maybe they historically didn't, coupled with issues with COVID and limited drivers, and it's kind of a perfect freight storm.
Yeah, I mean, the big box stores starting to really start leaning on that door-to-door delivery is definitely coming to a head for sure.
Yeah. I think one of the avenues that's really TLC's bread and butter is obviously the truck freight, whether it's liquid bulk or dry bulk. But kind of, I know you guys focus a lot more on the eastern half of the states, but what are you guys seeing on the truck freight side these days?
Yeah, so to be completely honest with you, I think now more than ever, carriers are being as picky and choosy with what they want to service, just given all of the pent-up demand out there. So our recommendation is just make your freight as appealing as possible. So often we see so many loading or unloading requirements, can only deliver in this day and time. And, if that's the case, you may just see a carrier up and, walk away from that type of a request. So we always advise, be as flexible as possible, make your freight seem as appealing as possible in order to make sure that you're at least near the front of the line when the time comes to actually move any of your freight.
That's a good point. That's not something I thought of, is what individual companies can do to make their shipping lives easier, whether it's outbound or inbound.
Absolutely.
You see some companies with crazy requirements and some companies that have no requirements, and obviously that's much more friendly.
And the ones that have no to very little typically will get theirs kind of a little bit more timely than the ones that, and we understand that some of these plants just aren't set up, whether it's from a personnel standpoint, because it's so challenging to hire anybody nowadays. You see all of the struggles to find personnel all over the place. So, or they don't have the proper equipment, whatever it might be.
But the sheer size of some of these companies, you need some sort of process in there.
Absolutely. So we always understand there is going to be potential issues, and it's easy for us to say make it as easy as possible. But that is honestly kind of the environment that we're currently in.
Yeah. So you're expecting a tough couple weeks with the Christmas time holiday, with availability, with pricing. Should be an interesting November and December.
I think as we really kind of get to the end of the year here, and the quick influx of all that's going to be happening with all of the holiday shopping deliveries, that does present some challenges for the normal spot lanes that aren't always being fulfilled. So I would expect some price increases to be especially in the spot market to be experienced over the next 2 months for sure.
Yeah. LTL Freight, I think something we've talked in the past that of the four maybe was the easiest or had the best capacity. How's LTL Freight?
Yeah, it's still moving for sure. Pricing is all over the place. So depending on where you're looking to move it to or from, it's quite all over the place. And again, just being compounded by the holiday rush that we're currently in. But I think now more than ever, there's a lot of people moving on the LTL front because they just want to get their product to whoever needs to go to. So we used to be able to say, hey, hold on to some of these shipments, wait for a more favorable FTL, but no longer is that always the case.
So you think that's the gap is closing between doing a couple LTL freights or just holding and doing one full truck freight?
And again, I think it all just comes back to demand. I think if you have the product nowadays, you're more favorable than a lot of people, as it's just tougher and tougher to find some of these commodities. People just want to get it in their hands as quickly as possible. So again, it's easier for us to say, hold on for an FTL if it's going to be going to one spot. But nowadays, just to keep up production lines and everything going,
just sometimes get it where it needs to go as soon as you can.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the final of the core four services that you guys offer, the rail side of things, obviously a lot tougher to quote a spot rail car versus it is, some of these trucks and LTL freight. But obviously rail, I think something that people are leaning a little heavier on these days. Maybe some people that haven't considered it in the past just to have some more consistent lanes. But I'm sure rail's been quite challenging as well with the increase in demand. Yeah,
and what used to be a much more competitive, viable lane for a lot of people, just given, maybe it's not as time sensitive. Again, people are just trying to find any avenue to get a product to its end user. So we're finding often is the case, rail may not be the cheaper solve with OTR kind of normalizing a bit, And again, we'll see how that goes over the next 2 months, but we'll take a look at any option to help a customer get whatever they're looking for. But that's another interesting lane.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest value adds for TLC and one of the best resources for TCC is you guys know all these different lanes and types of transportation and can pick and choose the best ones depending on the situation and what's going on. That's a massive asset.
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty deep Rolodex when it comes to trying to figure out a solution to whatever is thrown onto our plate. So TLC is set up very well to assist in any and all requests.
We dump some complex situations on your plate sometimes, so it's definitely a good time to have some unique fixes.
I mean, it always every day is a new day, and we're looking into growing that Rolodex every opportunity. So we appreciate all of the support everybody is sending our way.
Wrapping things up, I know we're coming to the end of the year here. I'm sure you're starting to talk about 2022 trade shows and events and travel.
Yep.
But what's coming up here for the end of the year?
Yeah, so we've got the Compounders Conference. We'll be attending beginning of December down in Savannah, and then we'll be taking a good look at Q1 and Q2 as far as some of those trade shows that will be coming up. So be on the lookout for all of those. Please reach out, especially if you are going to be traveling to one of those. We'd love to meet up and make sure that TLC is a good fit for whatever that individual customer may have for us.
Yeah, I'm sure you're looking forward to a somewhat normal calendar year of events and travel. And even this year, I think was only about a half year with COVID still in the first half of the year. So I'm excited to get back to a normal.
Busy second half for sure. I think there was 7 shows in 8 weeks. So that was nice to be back living out of a suitcase for a little bit. Feel like post-COVID times or pre-COVID times. Apologies.
Very much so. Awesome. Well, thanks, Joe. Appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely.
Look forward to talking to you next month as well for that little recap / forecast. We'll see how correctly our next year forecasts can be. It'll be interesting to see. If you scroll down wherever you're streaming this podcast, we'll have both Joe's email as well as the TLC website. So feel free to shoot him a note, give TLC a look for any of your freight needs. But appreciate having you on.
Absolutely. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Joe.